What is going on, guys? This is the coach for your Bracknell Beadrills, Splurge, bringing you BBL Season 2, Week 6, I believe. We are playing against Bird of the New South Wales, who has been doing quite well, I believe. I can't remember his record exactly. He's got a scary team though. No, I don't actually have to hand at the moment. So we're going to be going through our game and my prep. So first up we have a Rotom Frost, bringing Screens Rotom Frost with Light Clay, Volt Switch and Blizzard. This is a bit of a weird set, I'm not going to lie. So it's got a bit of speed to be outspeeding any sort of speed creep. It's max HP, enough special attack to be 2-hit KOing something with Blizzard, can't remember what, and then kind of like split defenses just to share the weight. We then have Full Stop, our Scolipede running Expert Belt, Sword Stance, Earthquake, Mega Horn and Poison Jab. Max Speed Adamant attack, which it's a bit crucial further into the game, which we'll see. It's kind of say what you see, it hits things relatively well. We have Ockerberry Solgaleo, really quite offensive but also quite bulky at the same time. Again, outspeed creeping, silent creeping this, quite heavily physically defensive and then fully attacking, but no adamant. The thing we need to know about this is that from full with Ockerberry we live a natural Z Fire Blast, and just about anything from Volcarona. We're running Sunsteel Strike, Rock Tomb, HP Ice Knockoff. Rock Tomb comes in handy with this game because he's got quite a lot of quick mons. Sunsteel Strike is just solid. HP Ice for Zygarde, and Knockoff is just final coverage. Take off what we can. Maybe like a Holocha Electric Seed before it pops. I don't know why you'd have it out though before then. Oh, excuse me. We then have Giratina running Leftovers, Defog Roar, Shadow Ball, Dragon Tail, the ultimate phaser. This is quite a similar set to what we've run previously in terms of EV spreads. It just generally takes hits so darn well. So a +2 acrobatics from Holocha does not 2-hit KO, or it's like a roll that's in my favour. Dazzling Gleam from Tapu Koko doesn't do much unless you're some sort of boosting item, and yeah, Dragon Tail is basically this is my Holocha answer at the point when it starts getting out of hand, because it's bulky enough that it can take hits, and it can just phase it out, which makes it far less of a threat. We then have Choice Scarf Landorus running Earth Power, U-Turn, Rock Slide, Stealth Rocks. Direct answer to Tapu Koko, can't really say much more. And then finally we have and also a +1 Volcarona. And then finally we have Mega Gyarados running Dragon Dance, Waterfall, Earthquake, Crunch. One day I will be able to actually get this thing to snowball. I just haven't found the correct situations and everything's been far too well prepped for it. So heading into the battle, what we see is that Bird has brought Shaman, Holocha, Mega Metagross, Tapu Koko, Zygarde and Volcarona. His team is quite scary, not gonna lie. But so I lead Landorus because it's generally just a nice lead versus pretty much everything on his squad. If he decides to lead Koko, we can go for that fat Earthquake or for a Rock Slide or a U-Turn. Effectively, we're open to click anything there, depending on whether we think that he's going to go Holocha straight away, which he just won't. If we see a Metagross lead, we can go for the Earthquake. If we see a Volcarona lead, we can go for Rock Slide, and then Shaman or Zygarde, we go U-Turn. Or Rocks, depending on what we think the set is. Yeah, so heading into the battle now, what we see is, so he goes for a Shaman lead, which I'm not too happy to be sitting in versus the seed plan, so I just go straight for the U-turn. And yeah, so we go for the U-turn as we see here. I was pretty much just banking on the fact that if he clicks Seed Flare, then we're in trouble. We go into Rotom here, because if we set up our screens, we're in a much better place to take any attack. Also gives Gyarados momentum to try and, or at least the opportunity for it to try and get something up. We see the Seed Flare, and it does get the Spadef drop as well, which is unfortunate. As we go for the Reflect, I was predicting, I believe it was a Metagross to come in versus it. So, by the by, we're able to switch out into Giratina because we take nothing from Shaman, and we're able to deal out a reasonable amount of damage, as we're going to see the Seed Flare do about 15%. Yeah, if that. About 10%. He does get the Spadef drop, which is less than ideal, but it's something to just be mindful of. And so what we see here is that we double out, as I believe the Shaman also doubles out as well, although I'm not sure. No, the Shaman stays and goes for Seed Flare. We're now in with Solgaleo, and so I'm just going to hard read for the Zygarde, switch in and click HP Ice. I was actually meaning to go for Rock Tomb. It was a bit of a misclick, I think. I was 50-50 in the opinion, and then kind of just clicked HP Ice without thinking too hard. But so it pays off quite nicely, as we are able to take a solid 60% out of this Zygarde. What we then see is that the Zygarde doubles out again into Metagross as we go for the knockoff, because really what I wanted to do there was determine whether what sort of item Zygarde was there and take it out. But so we switch into Gyarados at this point because we want to preserve Solgaleo, because it's quite vital to the game. And so what we see here is that the Metagross goes for an Earthquake. It's a safe play. And so we double out from Gyarados again into Giratina, because I was relatively certain that we're going to see some sort of coverage from the Metagross for the Gyarados, whether it be kind of like Hammer Arm for when we Mega Up, or say like a Thunder Punch, as we now see. And so we now have Giratina back in again, which is kind of nice. It means that we're able to just freely click Shadow Ball, I believe. So we just get some nice damage off Tapu Koko. It does around about 40 to 45%. And so this is the point where I start getting a bit mixed up about Tapu Koko. So he stays in, goes to the U-turn. I was relatively confident that what we are going to see was Koko just go hard for a switch. So Zygarde comes back in, and we're just clicking Shadow Ball again. I wasn't confident enough to click Dragon Tail again, or Roar, as Tapu Koko could have just gone for a Dazzling Gleam. So we now have Zygarde down to quite a low amount of HP, which really kind of neutralises the amount of a threat it is. We get to a little bit of an interesting point in the game where we see here from the damage that this Zygarde is actually banded, and so I have an opportunity once I switch into Solgaleo that if this is a 3-turn outrage, that I can actually take it out, and it's not so much of an issue. Unfortunately though, it's only a 2-turn outrage, so Bird is able to switch it out and keep it for later in the game, which is kind of crucial. And yeah, it's less than ideal. But so what we see here is that on the switch I go for Rock Tomb, because I now know that Zygarde was banded, and so it'd be suicide if it stayed in, and Rock Tomb was killing it, and so we were able to drop the speed of whatever switches in. Seeing that it's Hawlucha and it's now popped its berry, the Electric Seed, it means that we're able to safely go into Giratina, because we can take whatever hit this tries to dish out, and we're just able to phase it back out again. So we see the acrobatics from Hawlucha, and so it takes us down to nearly half, but not quite, as we go for the Dragon Tail, which it does nothing to Hawlucha, but does volumes to Hawlucha all at the same time, and just kind of neutralising the threat that it is. We then have Metagross pulled out versus us, and so the Metagross now goes for Ice Punch, revealing its second bit of coverage as we go for the Shadow Ball. And so I think there was a very slim roll to kill, but I didn't think that it would. So it lives on a low amount of health, that's probably inside about 20 HP, but it's by the by. And so we switch into Gyarados to switch to sack it off, get the Intimidate drop on it, so that leaves us with a free opportunity to go into Scolipede to try and set up, amongst other things. The issue is that so I completely had a brain fade in my prep, so I made this Adamant, as we saw, and then I just didn't think about it here, so he goes for the Meteor Mash, does like 75% to us when we go for the Mega Horn. And so now we're in a much worse place than what I initially thought that we'd be. And so what we see here is that the Zygarde is now able to pressure us to switch because we don't want to take an extreme speed. However, I wasn't confident enough to switch into Giratina in case that Bird predicted us and went for the Outrage. So I went looking for the sack again with the Rotom, and so what we see here is that Bird now doubles into Volcarona as we double back out. As we've seen the extreme speed, we are now able to safely go into Giratina, and so at this point I was in two minds as to whether or not what we would see here was a Psychium Z or a Bugginium Z from Volcarona, because they were a roll to kill, I believe. But so this Volcarona just goes for Quiver Dance after we've already revealed Dragon Tail, which was kinda interesting. I'm not really sure what the motivations were there. But so I guess he thought that we might double because Giratina was valuable to us. So we go for the Dragon Tail, and so another issue for Giratina comes out versus Sit and Tapu Koko. And so this time we really do sack off the Rotom to the Dazzling Gleam. However, it means that we're able to switch in Landorus versus this. And so I go for a U-turn predicting the switch, but what we see here is that Koko is actually Scarfed, so it outspeeds us as well. And does about half, which really isn't fun. So we then switch out into Solgaleo, because we know that it's scarfed into Dazzling Gleam, which does diddly squat to Solgaleo. And so what we go for here is that we now go for the Rock Tomb, because whatever comes in, whether it be the Zygarde or the Hawlucha or anything, it's getting off solid damage versus it. And it sets up a kill for the following turn afterwards, or on the exact turn. So we are able to then outspeed the Hawlucha as it's at -1 speed, and we're able to KO it. And so here is probably a defining move of the match. So what we see is Volcarona comes out, and so I know that we live anything apart from a Z Flyer Blast, and I was in the mindset of he has to have Psychium Z or Bugginium Z to at least bring the fight to Giratina in some sense. But no, it is in fact Z Fire Blast, hardest hitting Z move, which Volcarona has. And so we just don't live it despite the Occa Berry, and it puts our end game into a bit more of a situation. As so now we have lost one of our nicest counters to Zygarde in some sense, and it means that also we're going to have to sack off something else in terms of how we play around the two choice itemed mons. because here we see that Coco is forcing us to sack off the Scolipede, which is not what I wanted to do here, but it kind of we were left with, I was left with no choice at this point, and so I must have been misreading my calcs at this point, as so I thought that if Giratina wouldn't live one Dazzling Gleam, but apparently what we'll see on this turn is we do actually live one Shadow Ball, which means that we're able to actually take this game into even further, and so what we see here, is that so we live the Dazzling Gleam and Shadow Ball is able to carry the Tapu Koko. I have got a bit of an interesting voice, and so Zygarde comes out here, and so this is the point where so the roll doesn't matter, it shouldn't matter, but if it did, it did. It's by the by, and so what we see is the Thousand Arrows comes out because there was no point in switching in Landorus there on something fancy. We were always going to be sacking off the Giratina, and so U-turn is our best move versus the Shaman, which is left. Unfortunately though, the Shaman is still at a high enough amount of HP that we're not gonna Oko the Shaman from its HP, so we're relying on a Seed Flare to miss for the win. Unfortunately though, what we see here is that the Seed Flare actually hits. I mean, it should do, it's like 85% accurate, and so we lose 1-0. It was a great game with Bird, really good fun, right down to the wire. Week 7 we play new coach Panther, who has taken over Omega Jolteon's team, I think. It's going to be a good game nonetheless. Great game versus Bird. Be sure to check out his side of the video, as you see a shirtless hunk of a man. And yeah, I hope you guys have an excellent week, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya. And just when you thought the video was done, I'm back again. So let me explain what's happened. I recorded this originally week 6 to be uploaded last Monday. Unfortunately, life happens, and I've ended up with a lot of coursework that I've needed to do, and it has delayed my editing time. So now what we're getting is we're getting week 6 and week 7 together in one video. So yes, hello, welcome to part 2. So this week, I'm not even prepared for this. We are facing Panther, who has jumped in for Omega Jolteon, I believe. I'm not entirely certain, I've probably just got that wrong, but we'll ignore that. So after going 0-6, I've decided to take a more relaxed view of kind of playing. I just want to have fun, reading a couple of interesting sets, see if they work. So the current goal is to actually get Corsola a kill, as so I've now gained Corsola in a set of free agents. So this week we are facing the Carolina Clefables. If I'm even quick enough, I might be able to tell you what they have in their squad. But yeah, so I guess we're waiting for a little bit. So how are people's days? Do you like the ASMR side? But yes, so on the Carolina Clefables squad, my computer is slow. On the Carolina Clefables have Mewtwo, Megalopunny, Kyurem Black, Tornadosterian, Crocodile, Rabombi, Roserade, Ordino, Empoleon, and Electrode. Frankly, a terrifying squad. So we've decided to bring Corsola, because whenever there's a terrifying team, you always have to lean back on your own VPs. So we're bringing Corsola to this game. Choice Banded, Hustle, Stealth Rocks, Sucker Punch, Earthquake, Icicle Crash. This is Adamant, Max Attack. If Mewtwo has like 10-15% worth of damage on it, this can kill it with a Sucker Punch. That's the goal from this game, is to be able to get a Sucker Punch Choice Band Corsola to take down a Mewtwo. We then have Comfey, Lift, running Leftovers, Triage, Carmine, Aromatherapy, Giga Drain, Draining Kiss, with enough speed investment to outspeed, I believe it was Roserade or Empoleon. I think it was Empoleon. At like max, not Jolly or Timid, I think. We then have Assault vs Solgaleo, running Sunsteel Strike, Flame Charge, Knockoff, Superpower, Max Attack, Creeping, Curin Black. We have Giratina, running Leftovers, Pressure, Magic Coat, Icy Wind, Shadow Ball, Earth Power. Running one of my now patent sets that just doesn't die. Icy Wind generally helps me with the fact that his team is stupid fast. Shadow Ball is a nice stab, and Earth Power was for the Empoleon / Electrode. We then have a Choice Specs Rotom Frost running Blizzard, Thunderbolt, Defog, Will-O-Wisp. It again is creeping something, I can't remember what, with a timid nature, max special attack. And finally we have Mega Gyarados running Dragon Dance, Crunch, Earthquake, Waterfall, kind of standard. It does well here if it's given the opportunity to set up, however those opportunities are hard to come by. But yeah, so I was taking this game with a pinch of salt. I wasn't expecting to really be able to do I'm no longer looking for wins in each game. I'm more looking to just enjoy myself. And so what we see here is that coming into the battle, he brings Curin Black, Mewtwo, Empoleon, Tornadus T, Ribombee, and Crocodile. Is to be expected. I think this is the team that really did the most to me. But so getting into battle, what we see here is that I believe I lead off with Giratina. Excuse me. And what we see here is a Curin Black, which is a bit of a Titanic opening. If he clicks Z Freeze Shock, I believe he KOs. If he clicks Draco, I believe he also KOs. But so he just wants to play it safe, switch into Ribombee on a possible Draco of my own, as I switch into Rotom Frost. And so what we see here is that the game just decides to suck any sort of fun that I was looking to have in the space of the first 5 turns. So we click Blizzard because it's going to OHKO. It OHKOs, I think, anything apart from like a super bulky Empoleon or a super bulky like AV Mewtwo. But so we missed the first one. We hit the second one after Ribombee is now behind Substitute and it's clicked Quiver Dance. It then clicks Substitute again, and so at that point I think I was still a roll to, we were still guaranteed OHKOing the Ribombee, but so we miss another Blizzard, so that's 2 in the space of 3 turns. We finally we hit the 4th Blizzard though, but now Ribombee is up to +2. It's just like, well, what am I supposed to do here? Right. Admittedly, Blizzard is an inaccurate move, but it is not 50% accurate. We now definitely get blown back by a Moonblast, so this Ribombee now is taking up way too much time for my squad. Thankfully I have an Assault vs Solgaleo, but then of course we see the Z move from Ribombee, which I didn't think that I was going to live. And so I was thinking, well, this is going to be an extremely quick game. But so I think we live this on like a slither, and we're actually able to take it out with Sunsteel Strike. Yeah, we live on 17 HP. Oh no, I clicked Flame Charge because that also kills. Which this now puts me into a nice scenario to be able to ask questions of some mons it prevents Mega Lopunny from coming in and just kind of doing its thing. But so instead what we see is the Tornadus T, which we click knockoff on because we just don't want this having leftovers or anything. We knock off its Assault Vest as it goes for U-turn and knocks us out. We're really not in a nice place at all because Rotom Frost was a really nice breaker for my squad, and I couldn't afford to let Rabombi get behind a substitute, as we saw, and start to kind of just snowplow its way through my squad. We then have Kieran versus Comfey, and so I'm just going to try and make the most of this Comfey whilst I can. So it doesn't do much to Empoleon, which has now switched in, and so kind of calking, I could see that it wasn't doing much. And so what we see here is that so I switch out versus set to just try and gauge what it's going to go for. I go into the Gyarados to get the Intimidate off. But so is a nice play on Panther's part to click Toxic. And now it means that my Gyarados is on a timer. Yeah, and so kind of I as I said, trying to have fun when the game kind of spirals that quickly in the first 5 moves is difficult to say the least. So we see that I switch into Comfey as the Empoleon is switched out for Kieran Black. And so I continue to set up another Calm Mind, I believe, on the switch he makes out into Mewtwo. And so I kind of wholeheartedly make a mistake here, I think, in the fact that I Calm Mind twice whilst he clicks Psy Strike, which definitely 2-hit KOs me. So yeah, so we see the Psy Strike here. I'm at +1, but then Psy Strike goes across for the defense, so we go for the Calm Mind again. Oh yeah, no, I remember what this was for. This was me just trying to get to the point where, so if Corsola comes in, it should be able to KO the Mewtwo. So a Draining Kiss plus a Sucker Punch from Corsola would mean that Mewtwo goes down. The issue, of course, is that it relies on Panther to believe that the game is already done and to just kind of go for a sweep with Mewtwo. And so what we see here is that so Comfey goes down, and so out comes our MVP, Corsola. And so we're not going to waste our opportunities here. We are hard clicking that Sucker Punch. We're not going to try and read it or anything as he goes out into Empoleon. So that opportunity was missed to click Earthquake. And so we switch back out into Gyarados. Oh dear, I'm yawning. Yeah, and so the Empoleon clicks Stealth Rocks, which is fair enough. As so, he probably would have guessed I was locked into Sucker Punch, considering he would have calced that. And so he then switches back out into Kieran Black, as I go for a Dragon Dance, I believe. And so this was the point at which I think we get revealed that Kieran Black is in fact Scarfed, which just kind of puts the final nail in the coffin, really. So much. Yeah, so we Mega Gyarados. Oh no, so we go for the Crunch, which solidly is going to 2-hit carry this Kieran. And so I kind of consider to myself, kind of like, there's only one thing that's, that if we can't carry Mewtwo with Corsola, then I'm going to be damn sure that I'm going to try and KO Kieran Black. And so we bring out Corsola again, And so we're not wasting these opportunities. We're going to click Sucker Punch. Unfortunately, though, we get hard red, and so it goes for the roost. Probably should have clicked. So the brave play there was to click Icicle Spear, as I think that was like 2-hit carrying this Kyurem. But so he would have been able to have played it safe the first time, click the roost, see what I went for, and then been able to have carried with Fusion Bolt. But so we switch out into Giratina on the Fusion Bolt. This isn't going to do much to us. Yep, solid about 5%. So much yawning. And so the Kyurem then is able to go for the Ice Beam, as so he's happy to let it be sacked off. Unfortunately, the best move that we have is Icy Wind, which is not going to KO this Kyurem, I believe. It's going to do hardly anything. But of course, you've got to get that speed down, because you never know. Also, I might be able to come through. Yeah, in all reality, the game is done at this point. But so we switch into Corsola, predicting the switch or an Ice Beam, because you never know, we might be able to outspeed at this point, and that Ice Beam is doing a chunk to something which resists it. Yeah, and so unfortunately we don't outspeed, because at this point I was just clicking buttons. And so I believe I clicked the Icicle Spear just to see what he'd go for. And so then unfortunately our MVP goes down, so we're left down now only with Reckoner to try and bring this back with a slightly wackadoodle set. Unfortunately though, this Kyurem should be able to go for Ice Beam and just KO us. So we get our butts utterly throttled in comparison to last week, which was quite a close game. We lose 5-0 to Panther. I mean, GG man. Hacks us hacks over the first couple of moves. But what can you do? It's the game we play. Week 8 we play blue of the San Diego Azels. Hopefully we should be able to bring that on time in a timely fashion. I hope everybody has a very good week, and I shall see you guys next week. Bye.